Welcome to the Great Detectives of Old Time Radio. From Boise, Idaho, this is your host, Adam Graham. In a moment, we're going to bring you this week's episode of yours truly, Johnny Dollar. But first, I want to encourage you, if you're enjoying the podcast, please follow us using your favorite podcast software. And remember, when making your travel plans, check JohnnyDollarAir.com first. JohnnyDollarAir.com is a Priceline affiliate link. So part of your purchase price supports the Great Detectives of Old Time Radio at no additional cost to you. So remember, when making your travel plans, check JohnnyDollarAir.com first. Now, from June the 8th, 1958, here is the Wayward River Matter.
From Hollywood, it's time now for...
Johnny Dollar.
Johnny, this is Lee Harkins, Continental Insurance and Trust Company.
Lee, my old fishing pal. You still holding down the Ohio branch of the company there in Columbus?
Yes, John, I am. But now look here.
Well, brother, I never will forget the great fishing you and I had over on Darby Creek a couple of years back.
Look, John.
And along about this time every year, the urge really gets to me. Hey, have the streams cleared up yet from the spring rains?
No, quite the contrary. As a matter of fact...
How about Little Raccoon Creek down near Jackson? Boy, remember those big channel cats and the bass?
Johnny, will you listen to me?
Huh? Oh, sure, I'm all ears.
The big river has gone on a rampage again. Spring floods.
You mean the Ohio?
Yes, and every other river of any size. The rains are still coming down.
I see.
Whole towns are being washed away by the floodwaters. Death and destruction all over.
Oh, I'm sorry, Lee. I didn't mean to sound so... Well, you know, mention fishing and I lose my head.
Look, Johnny, I need you out here. Can you come right away?
Well, sure.
You see, any fishing we do may be for the bodies of people.
Bob Bailey in the exciting adventures of the man with the action-packed expense account, America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar to the Continental Insurance and Trust Company, Columbus, Ohio office. Following is an account of expenses incurred during my investigation of the Wayward River matter. Expense account item 1, $43.50, transportation to New York, then a flagship to Columbus, Ohio. It was 5:30 p.m. and raining hard when the big four-engine plane set down gently at Port Columbus Airport some 7 miles out of town. My plan was to go into the Fort Hayes Hotel and call Lee Harkins from there. So after picking up my luggage, I headed for the door in a taxi stand. But Lee, it seems, had other ideas.
Here, let me help you with your bag.
It's all right, son. I'm just looking for a taxi to... Lee!
My car's right out here, Johnny. The sooner we get started, the better. Here now, right through this door.
Yeah, well, wait. The sooner we get started, where? Where are we going?
To the town of Carteret, about 100 miles or so south. Now, come on, if you want to get sold.
Oh, hey!
Come on!
Whatever you say.
Come on now, hop in.
Oh, brother. Phew. Why didn't you tell me to bring a raincoat?
Why don't you read the papers?
Been raining like this for long?
Off and on for 3 or 4 weeks. We may have a mean ride ahead of us.
Well, what's it all about, Lee?
Well, the floods along the Ohio have been pretty severe this year, Johnny. They've been somewhat later than usual.
Yeah, that much I did read about.
Half a dozen of the big cities have been taking a real beating, in spite of all their preparations for the big runoff.
I know. It's been true all over the country.
Well, what you don't read about in the headlines, though, is the little places, like Carteret. It's my old hometown, Johnny. I've sold a lot of policies there, particularly to the local shopkeepers, you know, on their stocks and merchandise.
So there's been a lot of flood damage, and your company's having to pay up a lot of claims.
No, not yet. So far, the town's been lucky. Most of the recent bad storms have been across the state line, up in Pennsylvania or over in West Virginia. Same was true last year and the year before. So the people down around Carteret, farmers mostly, haven't gone ahead with their flood control project the way they should have.
Is Carteret right on the Ohio?
No, it's in a valley, a few miles north. It's on the Crooked River, and parts of the town are actually below the riverbank. Now, you see what that means.
Yeah, I sure can.
Most of the year, it's a quiet, lazy stream about 50 or 60 feet wide. But when the feeder streams up in the hills start pouring water down...
And if it overflows?
Half the town will go with it. Be swept right down into the Ohio.
Lee, don't they know enough to prepare for this sort of thing?
Johnny, like I say, they've been lucky so far. But this present storm has been bigger and longer than anything they've ever had.
Well, What about the State Flood Control Commission, or whatever it's called? Can't they do anything?
But let's face it. What's a little burg like Carteret when there are 100 bigger and more important towns in the same fix?
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Before the lines went down, I got a call from Fred Norlock, one of my big accounts down there. Big hardware firm. Unless the river goes down, he's going to lose the whole place. That means over a $100,000 insurance claim.
But what can I possibly do, Lee?
I don't know, Johnny. I just don't know.
We were heading south on Route 23, and by the time we reached Chillicothe, the rain had led up to a drizzle. By the time we reached Jackson, where we left the main highway, it had led up entirely. But I noticed that every little stream we passed was overflowing its banks. Finally, it must have been after midnight, we pulled up on a low hill overlooking the town of Carteret. And it started to rain again. To rain hard. Below us, the crooked river was a terrible, terrifying thing to watch. Power lines were out, but maybe hundreds of kerosene and gasoline lanterns, flashlights, and lights from cars showed only too plainly the perils of the brown, rushing, raging torrent that threatened the town. Men stripped to the waist, the banker and the ditch digger side by side, the farmer and the merchant, toiled frantically to reinforce the levee with bags of sand, stone, cement, anything they could find, while the river lapped hungrily at their feet, trying to undermine the embankment as quickly as it was built up. Back of them were others, filling the sandbags, bulldozing additional strength to the levee, hauling truckloads of sand and rock and gravel, digging, shoveling, filling, anything they could do. I'd never seen a more dedicated group of people. Men, women, children, all working in a common cause. Not just for themselves, but for the survival of their neighbors, their town. And the ugly river was like a thing alive, clawing at them, seeking to destroy them. Huge, floating masses of debris flew by at express train speed, whirling now and then to strike out at the embankment, fighting to break it down. Thousands of tons of wreckage, parts of houses, chicken coops, trees, and brush, anything that would float. I stood there appalled and almost overwhelmed by a feeling of utter helplessness.
Can't they see? If they were up here on this hill, they could see that they're losing ground, Johnny. The river's rising faster than they can build up the levee.
Yeah, Lee, yeah, it looks that way.
What's the matter with you guys? Can't you see they need help down there? Anybody doesn't help, I'll be shot.
Oh, he's right, Johnny. We ought to go down there and help for whatever it's worth.
Wait. That one section where they're all working.
It's right above the cut into Perry Street. If the levee goes there, it'll sweep the whole section down the valley into the Ohio River.
But look, Lee. Look, back there, behind us. The reason why the water's piling up, don't you see? That old railroad bridge. The trees, the mud, the rubble that's piled up against it. That railroad trestle has become a regular dam.
Hey, you're right.
The more of that debris piling up there, the stronger it gets.
And the higher it gets, too. With the water mounting up behind it that way, the levee over Perry Street will go in a matter of minutes.
Right. But break that dam somehow, and the water will get through. Down the crooked river into the Ohio.
Yeah. Break that dam, and it'll save the town.
Yes.
Oh, but how, Johnny? How?
Yeah, how?
Act two of yours truly, Johnny Dollar, in a moment.
Our flag now numbers 50 stars, and behind each star there stands yet another flag representing one of the 50 states. Indiana's state flag is dark blue with a golden torch for liberty and enlightenment. The rays of the torch indicate their far-reaching influence. An outer circle of stars represents the original 13 states. An inner circle of stars, the next 5 states admitted to the Union. And a large star above the torch represents Indiana itself. Indiana's state flag, the flag of the 19th state to enter the Union, was adopted on May 31st, 1917.
And now, Act two of yours truly, Johnny Dollar, and the Wayward River Matter.
From our vantage point on the hill above the little town of Carteret, we could see why the crooked river was rising so fast, threatening to engulf the town.
You're right, Johnny. The debris against the old railroad trestle has made a dam.
And somehow we've got to break that dam. But how? Lee.
Yeah?
Any stores down there, any of them carry dynamite?
Yeah, down there on Perry Street. Norlock Supply Company.
Then come on.
Norlock, one of my biggest clients. If the levee breaks, his place will take the brunt of the flood. There, you see down there? He has men putting sandbags around it.
They won't mean a thing if the levee goes. Why doesn't he send those men back on up to the river's edge where they can do some good?
Johnny, he's the only man in town looking after his personal property. The only one selfish enough to... Say, listen, he's also the man who's always opposed doing something about this river.
Save your breath, Lee. We've got to get down there and get some dynamite. The groups we passed, still vainly trying to chink up holes in the levee, all but spat on us as we passed. Because we weren't working with them, trying to save their town from the raging Crooked River, or so they thought. Finally, we slogged our way to the Norlock Supply Company on Perry Street.
More sand. Faster! Fill those bags and get on around my place. The levee goes, it'll all come down here. More sandbags, more!
You're crazy, Mr. Norlock. You're wasting your time.
What? Mr. Harkins.
Why, if that levee goes, nothing will save this place of yours.
He's right, Norlock. Get your men on up to the levee where they'll do some good.
Sure, but then you'll pay the insurance of my place is swept away.
It won't be if we save the town. We need dynamite.
Who are you?
Oh, this is Johnny Dollar.
Insurance investigator? What are you doing here?
Look, there's no time to stand around and talk. We need dynamite, a lot of it.
What for?
Well, the wreckage from up the river. It's jammed against the old railroad trestle south of town. And it's made a regular dam. That's what's backing up the water.
I know, I've seen. You gonna blow that up?
That's right. Now, where's the dynamite?
Anybody go out on that trestle with the pressure of the river against it, he's crazy. Any part of that goes, he'll go with it, he'll be killed.
He's right, mister. Be suicide to go up there.
Come on, let's have the dynamite. And you men, get up above where you can help.
Now you wait a
Load
minute.
that truck with all the bags you can, but get up there fast.
If it's but my place here, what about my soul?
Norlock, where's that dynamite?
I won't give it to you.
Oh, listen, Mr. Norlock.
I refuse. It'd be suicide for you to go out on that railroad trestle.
But if we don't, the whole town will go.
And I tell you, Mr. Dollar, are you threatening to shoot me? Put that away.
Oh, Johnny, wait.
Let me handle this, Lee.
You're crazy, Dollar. Put that gun away.
All right, Norlock, it's up to you.
What do you mean?
Unless you give us the dynamite, I'll blast the lock off this place of yours and get it myself. Well?
All right. All right. In here. But I tell you, you're mad.
Oh, was Norlock mad? A victim of the panic that all too often seizes a man when the going gets tough. But he did give us the dynamite. Then, with two of his workmen, Lee Harkins and I trudged through the mud and the night loaded with cases of dynamite, back to the old railroad trestle. And when we got there, I wondered if maybe Norlock wasn't right after all. If it wouldn't be suicide to go out on it. The pileup of debris against it was huge. In back of it, the deadly brown water swirled and eddied, throwing telegraph poles, railroad ties, huge trees pounding against it, battering at the old framework of the trestle. If only they'd strike hard enough to break it down, break the dam. Perhaps they would. By that time, the town of Carteret would be lost. Yes, somebody had to do this job, and it looked like I'd elected myself. I'm not quite clear on what happened during that next 20 or 30 minutes. They seemed like 30 years of nightmare. But I edged my way out on that rickety framework, a fused case of dynamite under my arm. It was dark, and I had to feel my way along over planks and boards and trees that the force of the water had thrown up on the trestle. The wires leading back to the plunger that would set off the charge would catch and drag. But I knew I had to reach the first long span to make the explosive do its work. And all the while, the old bridge creaked and groaned and shook from the impact of the wreckage being thrown against it by the angry water. But then, finally, the job was done, and I felt my way back to the bank.
Hurry, Johnny! Hurry!
I'm coming. Everything ready here.
Don't you see? The levee above. It's starting to go. Back over the town, there's a gap. The water's rushing now.
Okay, Lee, the plunger.
Here, sir. All ready.
All right, then lie down. Quick, get down. Here she goes.
Act 3 of yours truly, Johnny Dollar, in a moment.
Let me ask you a question. What is the most important thing to a fighting man? His gun, you may answer. You might also answer the code of conduct of the men of the armed forces of the United States. Because, you know, it is something just as necessary to the fighting man as his gun. And just as he keeps his gun cleaned and oiled because his life may depend on it, so does he keep ever forward in his mind his code of conduct because his life and honor depend on it. Part of the code reads, quote, I will never surrender of my own free will. If in command, I will never surrender my men while they still have means to resist, unquote. During the bloody and costly campaign on the island of Saipan in World War II, the code of the soldier meant something to the men, and to one man in particular. Essentially a quiet, peace-loving man, Sergeant Thomas A. Baker, while with the 105th Infantry Regiment of the United States Army, was up against it one night in 1944 when the enemy launched an attack which called for them to die in honor. Sergeant Baker proved it could work both ways. The enemy attack fell like a saber blow and continually hurled Baker's company back with each savage thrust. During the ensuing days of action, Baker wiped out an enemy position with a bazooka, killed 14 of the enemy in a machine gun ambush using only his M1 rifle and a couple of grenades, and then killed 6 more a little farther on. In a last-ditch stand one night, the company dug in to withstand the next furious assault. In the dark, as the enemy rolled over them in a thunderous attack of firepower, Sergeant Baker suffered a mangled leg from a grenade. Shooting and clubbing the enemy with his rifle, he dragged himself out of the foxhole. 3 of his men tried to give him aid. 2 of them were shot. From the 3rd man, Baker got a cigarette and a pistol and told him to leave. As the rest of the company moved back, Baker propped himself against a telephone pole, calmly puffed on his cigarette, and blazed away with his automatic. He was later found in that position with 8 of the enemy dead around him, 1 for each shot, and the empty gun in his lifeless hand. Sergeant Baker didn't consider the Medal of Honor he might get. He considered the job that had to be done. His honor was at stake. Surrender wasn't in his code of conduct.
And now, Act 3 of yours truly, Johnny Dollar and the Wayward River Matter.
The charge of dynamite on the old railroad bridge had broken the dam that the angry river had thrown up against it. Had released the little town from the threat of being washed down the valley into the Ohio River. The men and women and children, spent from having struggled against the raging water throughout the night and all the day before, went quietly back to their homes and farms to rest and sleep. And nature, defeated, gave up. The rain stopped and the skies cleared. Even the charging yellow waters of the crooked river seemed to diminish in a sort of frustration. What damage had been done to the town could wait now until the people were rested, refreshed. As Lee Harkins and I plodded wearily over to the village inn, I noticed that the streets were deserted. Yeah, even as the long gray fingers of dawn reached up into the sky, the town, exhausted, slept. Unmindful of the rooster in someone's backyard who sought to rouse it. Nor did we rouse the innkeeper, but picked a couple of rooms and settled down to rest our weary bones. But I couldn't sleep. Somewhere in the back of my brain, a little worry began to form, to peck away at me. In all of Carteret the night before, there'd been one man, and one man only, who'd ignored the common good to look after his own selfish interests. I went into Lee's room and awakened him.
Oh, no, Johnny, later.
Come on.
I'm so dead I can hardly go back to sleep. Will you?
No, come on. Just a couple of questions, Lee. Listen to me.
Oh, why didn't you let me sleep?
Over 100,000 insurance, you said.
Yeah, 100 and... I don't know.
Well, if you ask me, that's too much for a business of any kind in a town this size. Much too much.
So maybe I gave him a break on his valuation.
Yeah.
You know, to help sign up some of the other merchants.
But 100,000 of insurance money would give him enough to live on the rest of his life.
Oh, now, look, why don't you go back to bed, Johnny?
Lee, he knew about that dam at the railroad trestle. And so far as I could see, he was the only one who did.
Well, everybody else was so busy at the levee.
But did he try to do anything about it? No. Instead, he went through the motions of trying to protect his property. But he knew that if that levee broke, nothing would save it.
All right. Chalk it up to panic.
Panic, huh? He fought to keep us from getting that dynamite, the one thing that could save the town. He kept those workmen away from where they might have done some good, at the levee. He alone wanted that levee to break.
For good heavens, Johnny, You're right. You must be.
Yeah, I'm right. I'm going out and look for Mr. Fred Norlock.
Yeah, but there isn't a soul out there. Everybody's...
Maybe. That's what I want to find out. I found Fred Norlock, alone, up on the inner bank, the riverside of the levee, where anyone down below couldn't see him. And he was working with a shovel, a crowbar. Beside him was a pile of dynamite. I'd given him that idea. All right, Norlock, lay down that shovel. The river didn't do it the way you planned last night, did it?
Maybe not. Because of you, but you're not going to stop me now.
Oh, now put that thing down.
I'll kill you, Dollar, if you come any closer. And nobody will know because there's nobody around. I'll throw your body in the river. Nobody will ever know.
Sure. Set off a small charge, enough to breach the levee.
That's right. It's already in. You can't stop it.
And the river will crash through, destroy that failing business of yours down there.
Yes.
And take with it the homes in the valley, the livestock, maybe even the people.
Keep your hand away from that pocket.
So it's you or me, huh? And if I go, the town goes too.
Yes.
But if I can outdraw you...
This pistol is aimed at your chest. Now you walk straight ahead to the edge of the river. Walk! Johnny!
What?
Now! Now!
Oh, yes! Norlock's body was never recovered. He'd lived alone. He died alone. A crooked man in the crooked river. Nor was he mourned in the little town he'd tried to destroy. Expense account total, including transportation back to Hartford, $100 even. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Our star will return in just a moment.
Our flag now numbers 50 stars, and behind each star there stands yet another flag representing one of the 50 states. Montana's state flag is its great seal set upon a field of blue. To the foreground are a plow, a miner's pick and shovel, all set against Montana mountain scenery and the great falls of the Missouri River. The legend across the banner reads, Oro y Plata, gold and silver. The Montana Volunteers carried this flag in the Philippines during the Spanish-American War of 1898. Montana's state flag, the flag of the 41st state to enter the Union, was adopted on February 27th, 1905.
Next week, the delectable damsel matter. I hope you like it. I know I did. Join us, won't you? Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, starring Bob Bailey, originates in Hollywood and is produced and directed by Jack Johnstone, who also wrote today's story. Heard in our cast were Chet Stratton, Frank Gerstle, Bob Bruce, and Parley Baer. Special sound patterns by Tom Hanley and Bill James. Be sure to join us next week, same time and station, for another exciting story of yours truly, Johnny Dollar. This is Roy Rowan speaking.
This is the United States Armed Forces Radio and Television Service.
Welcome back. Nice little scene at the Columbus airport at the beginning. It's my wife's hometown, and I've been at that airport a few times. This one, coming a couple weeks after the Midnight Sun matter, felt like a similar story at first, where we were dealing with an adventure and not really a typical Johnny Dollar story. But Johnny's detective skills were able to kick in at the end once the initial danger was past, and he got to save the town twice. And of course, the story overall reflected a very strong sentiment and moral about the idea of selfishness and looking out for yourself even at the cost to others. And it's important to remember that the sort of values and ethos that was at the core of the country during the Second World War hadn't gone away entirely, certainly not in the heart of Jack Johnstone. All right, listener comments and feedback now. And we start out on Facebook. And with comments on the Midnight Sun matter, Skyla writes, "That was a crazy episode. Like just a random spot of daring do and not a dame in sight." Thanks for the comment, Skyla. Well, the indication is that this was inspired by a true life story. And in the late 1950s, when you're dealing with a cargo plane and air traffic control and a lead insurance agent, there are not a lot of parts that women would have played in that particular story. The lack of women in this week's episode is honestly a little bit more inexplicable, because this was a small town. It was full of lots of people, and including women, but we never actually hear from any woman, and that's just such an odd thing. Now, it may have been an issue with availability. There really was a sort of rep company setup with Jack Johnstone on Johnny Dollar and the same actors and actresses being called in multiple times. So it's just possible that none of the actresses that Johnstone regularly worked with were available. But an interesting call on that, and Matthew writes, "Heard this one, didn't like this. I like this show because of crime and mystery, but this should be an episode of suspense instead." That's a fair point, Matt. I am a bit sympathetic to Johnstone because he had to put out so many scripts on this series all by himself at this point, and he had this script to work with. And when you're dealing with the need to put out that volume of material, you do what you gotta do. And I think it's fair to make a little bit of an exception. I did find it entertaining, which makes it a bit easier to forgive. And then over on Spotify, Harrison writes regarding the episode, "Hey Johnny, real quick, did you try jiggling the control switch a few times?" "Oh, you did? 5 times. Okay, well, we're still working on the problem." I enjoyed the unique storytelling, but it would have been better as the first episodes in a serial. And that next episode teaser was spit take worthy. Well, appreciate the comments, Harrison. In some ways, it seems like it's almost the opposite of the complaint of Matthew, but I think it's an interesting idea. Now, obviously, by 1958, they'd stopped doing serialized stories in the 5-part format. However, they were not overdoing a continued story every now and again, and this actually would have been a good one to do. Rather than having it turn out that nothing had really gone wrong, have the episode end with Johnny learning after the landing that there had been sabotaged and who did it, and then have the next episode be the investigation. That might have been a more intriguing story, and it would have worked overall, being consistent with typical Johnny Dollar. And then, of course, Harrison had another comment, this one on our 4800th episode special. "I'd completely forgotten about the giant balloon animals. The omnibus was worth it just for that." Well, thanks so much, Harrison. We actually just featured the balloon animals ad in our old-time radio snack wagon ad sample or two last season. And of course, you're going to get at least one more of them when we bring you the Henderson Matter Omnibus. And then I think we'll be done with the balloon animal ads for 6 or 7 years. And I don't think I'll miss them. Then we have a couple of comments regarding the Road to the Valentine Matter. Nancy emails in, I just adore the Road to the Valentine Matter. This was always been my favorite serial, and to see how it's been handled and reshaped over the years is just great. I've listened almost from the beginning and loved every bit of it. Keep up the great job. Thanks so much, Nancy. And then over on YouTube, and then Kathy, she writes, this is great. I listen to a lot of old-time radio detectives and sometimes hear a story that I know I've heard before, but surely with a different detective, or was it? It's great that you've done this quality work to bring this to us like this. Well, thanks so much. And it really is fun to do the Twice-Told Tales. Now, of course, in the interest of full disclosure, the work of identifying these reused scripts has gone on for some times and certainly predates my efforts. But my idea has really been just bringing you the episodes in a single podcast so you can kind of hear the direct comparison. And so it's been fun to do these. The Road to the Valentine Matter, it was, of course, a lot more work and a lot longer episode than we typically do. And I think for the spring episode, we will be back to just a sort of twice-told tale. But if people enjoyed the serial, we might look into some of the more complex serials in the future and do those again. Again, appreciate your feedback. Well, now it is time to thank our Patreon supporter of the day. And I want to thank Gary, Patreon supporter since August 2016, currently supporting the podcast at the Shamus level of $4 or more per month. Thanks so much for your support. And that will do it for today. If you're enjoying the podcast, please follow us using your favorite podcast software. And be sure to rate and review the podcast wherever you download it from. We'll be back next Friday with another episode of yours truly, Johnny Dollar. And we will be back on Sunday with our first normal Sunday encore. And on Monday, we return to our regular lineup with Danger with Granger. But join us back here tomorrow as we give way to the great adventurers of old-time radio with Cloak and Dagger, where...
All of a sudden, the train gave a lurch. One of my suitcases took a flying dive to the floor. It was a suitcase with a penknife scar across the leather handle. The one with the radio. I was glad I was alone in that compartment. I couldn't wait to find out if that radio was all right. You see, the case was lined with a false backing of boxes of chocolates to hide the radio. I unfastened the backing, and there was the radio. It was okay. Nothing was broken. And then before I could refasten the backing, I heard voices outside the compartment door. I didn't have time to refasten the backing. I had just enough time to slam the case shut again, slide it back up in the rack, and get back in my seat.
Major, what is this? I was under the impression this compartment was reserved for me alone.
There must be some mistake here, Field Marshal.
There was a mistake, all right. My mistake in picking the one compartment on the train that had been chosen for Field Marshal Rommel.
Dummkopf.
I hope you'll be with us then. In the meantime, send your comments to box13@greatdetectives.net. Follow us on Twitter at Radio Detectives and check us out on Instagram. Instagram.com/Great Detectives. From Boise, Idaho, this is your host, Adam Graham, signing off.